You are listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible.
What is up, Chief, and welcome into today's episode of KCS Update. I am your host, Tucker Franklin, and I am very pleased to be joined by Joshua B. Brisco of Sports Radio 810 Kansas City and the Times Ours podcast and Arrowhead Report. And Josh, did I miss anything? How are you doing?
I'm now also a married man, an international traveler, a man of mystery. So yeah, I mean, I've been busy forever, but specifically this last month or so has been a different kind of busy, and I'm doing great because of it.
I think I reached out to you. How long ago was that? A week or two ago? Well, no, it was prior to your wedding, and I said let's.
A month, yeah.
Yeah, it was like a month ago now. At this point, it's like let's record an episode, and you're like, dude. You're an idiot. I am in the middle of planning. No, it's true. You said, I can't breathe right now, I think is actually what you said.
That might be an exact quote, actually. Yeah, it was a very busy time, but now, most of the stress of that is past. We did a lot of good, fun things. Wedding went well and all. So I feel pretty good. And now I'm just kind of like, yeah, it's June and the football season's not as high octane as you might like it to be. Don't tell me that. I was off Twitter for like 2 weeks. I've got DeAndre Hopkins takes still percolating in here somewhere. I mean, I'm fresh out the June sort of I don't know, little burrowing hole. Not to say the B word so early in the show, but after it's
get yourself. I had a really great time at the wedding. I had copious amounts of Lilo's shaved ice. So I appreciated that, and pretzel sticks as well. Incredible. It was a great time. We all had a great time. But I want to ask you this question, Josh, to start off the show. If you don't know, Josh is joining us for the power ranking segment that, you said that it was my IP, but I don't like to claim that I invented power rankings because it's far from the truth. I maybe pioneered power ranking things that don't usually get power ranked. But we are going to power rank, give you the top 5 quarterbacks that the Chiefs are going to face. At the end of the episode, we're going to give you a nonsense power ranking. So if you want a little bit of nonsense, a little bit of maybe a palate cleanser for the end of your week, go ahead, stick around for that. And we're going to be power ranking the topic I'll give you later. That's a professional tease right there, Josh.
I can't wait.
Very
excited. You didn't invent the concept of power rankings. Patrick Mahomes didn't invent quarterbacking. So, I mean, yeah, I'm just saying.
Listen. I'm not going to argue with that because that's a pretty good parallel there. But I want to ask you first, because what's hot in the streets right now, Josh? Chris Jones is not at mandatory minicamp in June. Collective gasp. What is your concern level on the scale of 1 to 10? I made a short that went on YouTube. I put it on my TikTok. I put it everywhere, asking people what their concern level was on the scale of 1 to 10, trying to get the pulse of the Twitter streets about what's going on in Chiefs Kingdom, about what they think about Chris Jones not showing up to mandatory minicamp. Didn't show up on Wednesday either. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think on a scale of 1 to 10, my concern level is probably like a 2. And that is not raising from the beginning of the week and going, oh, well, maybe he'll show up at minicamp. If he would have shown up at minicamp, you could have dropped it to a 1, I guess, right? Like, hey, things are great here. But the fact of the matter is that Chris Jones shouldn't be at minicamp. I mean, mandatory, yes, and he'll pay the fines. But this isn't even like, kind of the holdouts where you have guys who are, fluctuating between a few years left on their deal, and you think, should I just hold out and sit out a year? I think, didn't Chris Jones say he could be Le'Veon Bell the last time they did it, contract negotiation and everything? Right now, Chris Jones is attempting to secure what will be his last enormous long-term deal. He'll make more money after this deal is over, I would assume, maybe with the Chiefs and maybe elsewhere, who's to say. But this is the last big payday that Chris Jones has in his career. Football careers are extremely short, even when you are elite and, in my opinion, a future deserving Hall of Famer. But at the point that Chris Jones is at right now, it doesn't make sense even to go jog around minicamp and then have something weird happen in your knee or whatever bizarre thing can happen. And that could also come back around in training camp too. And if he is not signed by training camp, my tone could be slightly different. But at that point, for me, it would be, hey, you missed the soft deadline. The soft deadline to get this deal done is right at the beginning of training camp. Get it done then. Everyone's happy. Your defense is held together. If you don't have it done by then, I start to ask, what is Chris Jones asking for? What are the Chiefs offering? And who's being unreasonable here, right? In the structure or the total numbers and whatever it may be. But right now, I would have loved it if they would have gotten the deal done before the draft. You create an extra $20 million to work with. We could be talking about DeAndre Hopkins. It could be a fun time. But with where the Chiefs are at now, all I care about is that deal hopefully getting done by training camp. If it's a week into camp, fine. It'll be okay. But things really do kick into a more serious gear with Andy Reid's training camps once they get to St. Joe. So get it done by St. Joe, and I'll be tickled. But about a month or so, right, to actually make that happen, I do wonder how much ground they still have to cover.
Fun fact, Josh, the first year that we had done Arrowhead Report together was the offseason that Chris Jones did sign that contract.
Yes. Okay.
So I think, and crazy to think about it's been that long. But also, I'm meaning to look it up. When Chris Jones signed his first contract, I believe it was in July. Like, I believe that it was after mandatory minicamp, and I don't even think he went to that mandatory minicamp.
He also skipped minicamp that year. Yes, absolutely.
So I don't think that, and I've been telling people this has not been a blip on my radar at all. It's just one of those things where it's just like, yeah, this is going to happen. He's going to get his deal. He's going to pay the fines, which when he gets his new contract, the fines will be like minuscule to them at that point. Even they're minuscule right now. But I do think that people should not be worried. I've seen some comments about some tins. People are worried about him missing out on minicamp. And I'm here to tell you, don't worry about it. It'll be okay. There are bigger things to worry about in the world than Chris Jones skipping out on mandatory minicamp.
Despite the fact that there aren't that many people bigger than Chris Jones.
Right. It's a large human being. There's more things to worry about, like our top 5 quarterbacks the Chiefs will face this offseason. So I'm very excited to kind of continue the power rankings and top 5 rank things. People love ranking things. You see them all over social media all the time. But Josh, I want to know your thoughts. When we were going back and forth on the topic and I said top 5 quarterbacks the Chiefs would face, what were you thinking? What was going through the old dome?
The first thing I thought was, well, I can pretty much just rank my top 5 quarterbacks not named Patrick Mahomes because the Chiefs play all of them. Most of them are in the AFC, and then I'm not going to give away any because I'll throw in some other names or whatever. But like the guys in the NFC are Jalen Hurts and Aaron Rodgers, right? Like I'm not like just skipping over Derek Carr to be disrespectful. I mean, I'm really thinking about it. And so you've got the young guns in the AFC who the Chiefs are going to play apparently every year for the next decade, and then even the guys. I said Aaron Rodgers in the NFC. I do know the Jets are in the AFC, and that's something I'll just have to get used to.
Maybe.
But Jalen Hurts is the pride of the NFC, and Aaron Rodgers is technically employed by a team in the AFC. We'll see if he's playing when the season comes around.
Right.
But there's just such a power imbalance between the two conferences. Rodgers goes NFC to AFC this offseason, and before we actually get into it, my thoughts were, let me just start ranking these guys who aren't Mahomes. Figure out where the teardrops kind of are, and I don't have to eliminate very many quarterbacks because they're failing to appear on the Chiefs' schedule. They're pretty much all
right. The Chiefs do have a pretty tough schedule this year. That's kind of what I started to do because I wrote down the opponents and like all of the quarterbacks. I was like, oh, look, they have all the hard quarterbacks. And when you mentioned like the AFC and the NFC, the discrepancy, even the good rookie quarterbacks went to the AFC. Like, yep. I think the Indianapolis got the best quarterback in the draft with Anthony Richardson. I think that's going to be a really good pick for them in the long run, and that's in the AFC. Bryce Young went to the Panthers. So, I mean, so what? There's one right there. He's got to compete against Jalen Hurts, so give him a couple years. So, I mean, there's a very large talent discrepancy. So let's get into it, Josh. Top 5. We're going to go 5 down to 1. As professionals as we are, we've got to give the best for last. Who is your number 5 quarterback that the Chiefs will play this year?
My number 5 quarterback is the aforementioned Aaron Rodgers. I didn't feel good leaving him completely off this list, and I think that there are at least 6 obvious contenders for a top 6, and that means someone's getting left out. But I've given it a little bit of thought. I was a little bit prepared to be an Aaron Rodgers is going to fall on his face in New York kind of hater. But I actually think there's going to be a little rejuvenation for him. I think there are 4 guys the Chiefs will play who I'm more worried about than Aaron Rodgers. But he's number 5 for me.
Interesting. Aaron Rodgers is on my list, but he is not number 5 for me. Number 5 for myself is Trevor Lawrence, the Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback. had a good year last year coming around. I think that Jacksonville Jaguars team is going to be pretty salty this year. And it's kind of tough with the week that the Chiefs got them drawn. Is like week 2 in Jacksonville. It's still going to be like 100 degrees and humid in Jacksonville, which that dome stadium can't come quick enough, honestly, for Jacksonville.
Yeah.
I think that'll be great for them. And also, fun fact about this, the AFC South will be the first conference to fully have dome stadiums. Did you know that?
No, I hadn't considered that, but they sure will be. Oh, that's kind of fun.
First division, I guess. It shouldn't.
We got a dome
Semantics.
division.
Yeah, they're all in domes, which so seems wild to me.
The AFC South, actually, it's just so God doesn't have to watch.
Gotta hide them.
I don't want to. The only way I'm seeing the AFC South is on Amazon on Thursdays. Like I've kind of accepted that at this point. No, I like that. I like what most of them have done this offseason. So I actually,
they did all really good.
Because missing out with all these dang domes.
Right. What's that? I've talked about this Spy Kids 2 meme way too much already. Sorry.
I want to talk about Spy Kids now.
No, so like it's Steve Buscemi, I believe, and he says, "Do you think God stays in heaven because he's in fear of what he created?" And I think that's from Spy Kids 2, buddy.
No idea.
Yeah. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comments, but I'm like 99% sure it's from Spy Kids, and that's just the AFC South. God stays in heaven. God puts them in domes because he fears what he's created.
Because he fears Mike Vrabel. And Davis Mills.
Yeah, you should fear Davis Mills. That neck. Oof.
Yeah.
Okay. So number 5 for you, Aaron Rodgers. Number 5 for me, Trevor Lawrence. Are we gonna snake draft this? Actually, I'm gonna snake draft. I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
I know we're not like drafting players. We're giving our top 5, but I'm gonna go ahead and get it out of the way because I have Aaron Rodgers at number 4. Kind of the same reason of like we haven't seen the matchup of Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers yet. I know that the matchups really don't play into this a whole lot, but it's something that's been highly anticipated. I know State Farm's been anticipating it for quite some time now. Yes. And I think that, I know Aaron Rodgers is old. Maybe this is a farewell tour at some point, to some extent with him in New York, but I'm excited to see him take the field against the Chiefs. And he's an all-time great. He's still good. But how good he'll be is still yet to be seen. If he'll be healthy, is still yet to be seen as well.
Yeah, if he'll turn the lights on, is still yet to be seen. Right. But I'm with you on all of that. I'm really excited for that matchup. I just still have my doubts on Aaron Rodgers, which I think you could also extend to my number 4 quarterback here, who has accomplished quite a bit in this last year or so. But I do wonder what it's going to look like when Jalen Hurts doesn't have his offensive coordinator and is now the big contract won't be affecting their cap immediately, but that's going to be a long-term question to ask. But I am simultaneously a big fan of Jalen Hurts and have a few questions, I guess, about just the sustainability and how you follow up a near MVP campaign with whatever you do next. I try not to be too tainted by Patrick Mahomes bursting onto the scene, taking everybody's bleep and never giving it back. So I've got Hurts probably a little lower than some may, but I'm starting to wonder if he's on your list at all.
We'll have to find out. Also, Josh, you can curse on this program. This isn't terrestrial radio. You can curse on this program.
Heck yeah.
Oh, wow. I got to turn on the explicit tab now.
Yeah, we're gonna tag this one too. I don't want to have this one demonetized. I don't know.
Right. No, we're good. I do appreciate that. Jalen Hurts coming in at your number 4. So we have your number 5, Aaron Rodgers, and your number 4, Jalen Hurts. My number 5, Trevor Lawrence. My number 4, Aaron Rodgers. We'll get to number 3 right after this.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network. Entertain, educate, inform. KC Sports Network.
Hanging out with Joshua Brisco here from Sports Radio 810 on today's KCSN update. Hey, look, if you don't know anything about our KCSN golf tournament, our Tacos and Bourbon golf tournament, by the way, sponsored by Mission Taco Joint and Holiday Distillery, 2 wonderful partners of ours. Go down to the link in the description. Go check that out. You can sign up there. There's going to be prizes. There's going to be swag giveaways. There's going to be a silent auction. And one golfer will have an opportunity to hit a shot for $1 million. So make sure to go check that out. You can get your foursome there. I believe it's $500 for a foursome. Pretty good price for a golf tournament, if you ask me. That's at Sunflower Hills in Bonner Springs. All right, Josh, let's get to number 3. Give me your number 3 on your list for top 5 quarterbacks the Chiefs will face in 2023.
The number 3 quarterback on my list the Chiefs will face in 2023 is going to frustrate Chiefs fans, and I don't care. Number 3 on my list is Justin Herbert. I get it. I understand your skepticism. I know that you hate Brandon Staley. I know that you hate the Chargers' cursed injury history. I know. I understand why in so many ways the Chargers have shown themselves to be fraudulent to you over the years, Chiefs Kingdom. I get it. I really do. That goes back to Phillip Rivers, for goodness sake. I mean, it runs deep. But I really think Justin Herbert is special. I have my doubts still about how it will all ultimately come together, but similarly, in a lot of ways to Jalen Hurts, to some extent at least, it's not about a lack of faith in the quarterback. And for me, I am a huge Justin Herbert fan. I would have loved to see what his career would have looked like if he was immediately handed over to an offensive mind who didn't actively work against him more often than not. But I think we may have seen the reorganization the Chargers needed this offseason, and I like a big year for Justin Herbert.
I was just on Brian Haney's podcast, Big B Sports Show, and we were talking about kind of the Chargers and how they had, Joe Lombardi out, and now they have Kellen Moore in there. I think that is a huge offseason addition. Nobody they could have signed or drafted was going to make as big of an impact as that for the Chargers. I know Chiefs fans don't want to hear that. I know they don't. Brett Coleman, he works for the Chargers. He comes on this program. People do not like it when he comes and talks about the Chargers. The comment section is full of just like, get Brett Coleman out of here. This guy, get a load of this guy type of comments, So I for number 3 on mine is a familiar face that Kansas City Chiefs have seen. It's Josh Allen. I got Josh Allen at number 3. Some people might be thinking Tucker. Some people think Tucker. That's kind of wildly low for Josh Allen. Can he win the big game? Does he play? Does he show up when it matters? That's yet to be seen. Last time we saw Josh Allen on the field, his number 1 wide receiver was not very happy with him. Does he have the relationship ability that quarterback?
Very concerning, Tucker. I think some people think it's very concerning.
Yeah, 100%. I got to think of this from all other ways, but I just think Josh Allen has kind of been passed up in some regards when it comes to some of the other quarterbacks in the AFC and in the league as a whole. Last year was a year where I think Buffalo was really expected to take that leap forward, and a leap that they didn't take. So I think part of that does fall on Josh Allen. Later on in the season, he became a little less accurate than he was early on and didn't play as well. And a lot of times the Bills flow with how Josh Allen plays. And I mean, I think you can say the same thing about the Chiefs as well. That's what happens when you have a star quarterback. But I think Josh Allen, there's been some other quarterbacks that pass up Josh Allen. Not that I think that Josh Allen's a bad quarterback. I think there's a couple other quarterbacks I can put ahead of Josh Allen and feel comfortable doing it.
I don't hate it. I had to go through that exercise. I was getting to the top 3, although I'm starting to ask some questions about what's going to happen at the top of your list. But there is some reason, I think, to be a little bit concerned by that late season, like, ooh, those are some bad Josh Allen tendencies, because the best of Josh Allen is stupendous. It is the best quarterbacking in football, not done by a man wearing red or white with a 15 on it. I really do think Josh Allen's ceiling is outrageous. And that, what a hot take, Josh. Thanks. But more importantly here, I really do think that you used a word that is really the thing that has been damning to Josh Allen these last 12 months or so altogether, is expectations. The Bills were expected to make the Super Bowl last year, if not win the whole thing. And we know this well at this point, that the margin of error between a hugely disappointing season and a Super Bowl winning season is very, very, very small. So I think some of the expectation whiplash is not Josh Allen's fault. It is just the machine being the machine. But I am really, really curious to see how the top of those AFC guys shake out this year, because I do think there's a good argument to make that Josh Allen's been passed up a little bit by at least one of them.
We got 2 more quarterbacks left, Josh, and I'm curious to know, we're through here, 3 of them. You got Aaron Rodgers, Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert. As we mentioned, a lot of quarterbacks, a lot of really good quarterbacks. So who do you have at number 2?
Josh Allen.
Okay.
So everything I just said is all that. I think those are all fair questions, and then I'd still have a pretty strong belief that his ceiling is worth it, that progression is not always linear, that he may be in a position healthier perhaps and continuing to evolve where he has an 8-game stretch this year that is unlike much we've seen from anybody else before. But I do have him not at number 1 on the Chiefs rundown here.
I have a feeling I know who your number 1 is. And what if I told you, what if I gave you a little bit of a spoiler on my list, Josh, and said, we have all of the same players, just in different order.
Oh, really? All right. Well, tell me about number 2 then.
Number 2 is Joe Burrow. I've got Joe Burrow at number 2 because, listen, that's a huge Chiefs rival. Joe Burrow has been playing well. Joe Burrow was asked about it. He said, hey, Patrick Mahomes is best player. His teammate didn't really handle that question all that well as Joe Burrow did. That's why Joe Burrow is a professional. Yes.
Yeah, as he does.
Playing better under pressure. I've got Joe Burrow at number 2, but there's something about that guy at number 1 that I just like a little bit better. Maybe it's the je ne sais quoi about my number 1 guy that I like a little bit better that I like from Joe Burrow.
You want me to tell you my number 1 and talk about Joe Burrow? I mean, whoever.
Yeah, go ahead.
Great. I think you've got the exclamation point on this thing, so that's fabulous. I have Joe Burrow number 1 on my list for the quarterbacks that the Chiefs will play this year. I have everything in me as a football fan, as a football watcher, from the kid watching games to the kid playing NFL Street 2 to the adult playing NFL Street 2. Now, I love the play style that Josh Allen brings, and it made me a little slower on the uptake with Joe Burrow. I am not easily wooed by, well, he processes like Tom Brady, because most guys don't. It's just code for he's not as athletic as you'd like him to be. But I really do think that what Burrow has shown since he's been healthy and with the weapons that he has around him really, really maximized. Here's my hot take in a safe space here. I don't think that the gap between 1 and 2 in actual quarterback rankings, which includes Patrick Mahomes at number 1, I don't think that gap between 1 and 2 is all that close. And that's while believing that the second or third tiers of quarterbacks in the NFL right now are as good as they've ever been. Like the idea that Justin Herbert is like the 5th best quarterback in football would blow the eyebrows off of anybody watching in the 80s. But I do like Joe Burrow at this point, and I think he's deserving for the number 1 spot on my list. My list isn't the Tucker D. Franklin President of Power Rankings list.
That's true. And who I've got at number 1, you might have figured that out by now by the teaser I gave. I've got Jalen Hurts at number 1. He played at an MVP level all year last year, played incredibly well on a team that I think had some expectations, right? We talk about the word expectations again. The Eagles had some expectations coming into the year last year, but I don't know if really anyone expected them to go all the way to the Super Bowl. They played incredibly well. They're then coming off of a really good offseason this year. He played really well, sans one play in the Super Bowl where, unfortunately was a fumble return for 6 points. That was like the only mistake the dude made the whole game. Watching Jalen Hurts in that game, and I'll put my hand up, I don't watch a lot of NFC football just because, the Chiefs don't play in the NFC. I don't usually dabble in the NFC storylines all that much. But getting to watch him in that game and just like how clinical he was and how good he was passing the ball, how good he is throwing the ball, everything that he does in the game is just like elevated, and he really elevates that Eagles team. And that's why I think that when you look at him and you give him another year kind of with motivation and another healthy year, I know he did have an injury towards the end of the year, dude's a very good quarterback, and I think that he gives Joe Burrow a run for his money when you're talking about overall quarterback rankings. Now, obviously, Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league, and there's a lot of good conversations to have with a lot of these quarterbacks as to where to put them. But I was just so impressed with Jalen Hurts last year, just his season as a whole, and then his play in the Super Bowl as well. I couldn't pass it up. Joe Burrow doesn't have a fourth quarter touchdown in the postseason, Josh.
It is crazy. It's a crazy stat every time.
An incredible stat, and Jalen Hurts has a few of them. So I kept thinking about that as I was making my list. Listen, I went through several iterations at my desk over there trying to think about what I wanted to do. And I just kept going back to Joe Burrow not being able to show up when it matters and getting it down. So that's why I put Jalen Hurts at number 1.
So my OLI is Trevor Lawrence. Just outside looking in. And for you, it's Justin Herbert, I imagine.
Yeah. I said we had all the same guys, and I lied. That was wrong. Because I forgot you had Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert is on the outside looking in. Another guy that I really flirted with putting at that 5 spot because I think Trevor Lawrence is better than Herbert, and Justin Fields was the other guy I've kind of flirted with a little bit. Because I think you can really see what Justin Fields is going to be. Last year specifically, he just had a very bad team around him. There were like games. You ever see those tweets about like Angel stats from like Otani and Mike Trout do something that hasn't happened since like, yeah, it's just like haven't happened since 1800s when the Angels lose 9-14. Yes. It's just something like that. That's what was happening with Justin Fields last year. He was like running for 300 yards and throwing for 350, and it's just like, oh, that hasn't ever been done in the NFL. Bears lose 12-40 or 47 or something like that. It's just like he couldn't catch a break. I mean, they won 3 games all year last year, but he played really well in a lot of those games. I know that's kind of like a participation trophy at some point, but
still, it's a team game when you're only one guy.
You should for sure, and you can see what he's going to be. I like Trevor Lawrence a lot. I like what he is. I keep coming back with Justin Herbert. Nobody blames Justin Herbert for that blown loss, and I think that's kind of wild because if you talk about Trevor Lawrence, Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, throw Lamar in there. Any of those guys blow that lead, their teams blow that lead, they are blamed for that. And I think it's wild that Justin Herbert doesn't get blamed for the things he should have and kind of gets crowned for the things that he hasn't done yet, like winning a playoff game. So
yeah, I think that's all totally fair. And for me, I think we're in a golden age where legitimately, I love watching 6 to 8 quarterbacks in the NFL right now. There might be 10 who I'm like, man, I will like go out of my way to make sure I'm watching when they're on. And that's a wonderful place to be in.
And the Chiefs play all of them this year.
They play pretty much all of them.
Outside, there was only a few.
Lamar is the only thing that I thought would have cracked my list, probably, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think probably Lamar would have went at 5 for me if they played the Ravens this year. But no, I mean, you're looking at the list. I started writing out all the quarterbacks that I told you. Jared Goff was kind of one of those immediate, like, I'm going to cross that guy off. Mm-hmm. Mac Jones was another one. I was like, I'm going to cross. Russ was a debated. Maybe, no, I'm going to cross him off. But there's only a few games where there's not going to be a great quarterback matchup. But
next time, let's do bottom 5 quarterbacks the Chiefs will face this year.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yes, we have to do that before the season starts. Making you know that right now.
I'll be back next week.
Bottom 5, that would actually work really great out for me for planning. But no, let's you know what, Josh, let's go ahead and take a quick break. We need to regroup because we have to do our not so serious power rankings here. And I'm going to give you the topic. We'll take a break, and then if you're listening to the podcast, you can think about it. If you're watching the video, you can think about what your ranking would be. Let us know in the comment section below. Yes, let us know. Yes, you have to let us know what you think about this last one. Or you can let us know what you think about the quarterback one too. If you want to do that, you can. But we're going to be power ranking our top 5 burger toppings. So stick around. Listen, if you don't want to hear the nonsense, if you just came for the Chiefs, that's fine. Go ahead, dip out. We appreciate you listening. Appreciate it.
You hate burgers and power rankings. This next segment will be for you. And we've lost no one. Everyone's still here.
I love to see it. So make sure to stick around after the break. We'll be right back.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network. Entertain, educate, inform. KC Sports Network.
Hey, thanks for sticking through that break with us. As Joshua Brisco is hanging out with me, we're power ranking we just got done power ranking our top 5 quarterbacks the Chiefs will face. Now we're going to power rank our favorite burger toppings. So appreciate you guys sticking around as well. Make sure to like and subscribe.
If you're ashamed by this, I am so
no.
Power rankings are back in my life with you.
It's great. It really is great. And I think this is a good way to do it. Got to give the people what they want with the serious Chief stuff. I get it.
Yeah, we gave you 30 minutes or something, you know?
Well, you gave me solid 30 minutes of good Chief stuff. Now let's give you a nice solid 30 minutes. I'm just kidding.
We're going to talk about burger toppings for
burger toppings. An hour. No, we'll give you a little bit. But Josh, as my guest of honor, why don't you kick us off with your number 5 burger topic?
I'm going to put something down here first to make sure we're on the same page and the listeners are on the same page with us. Right now, what I'm envisioning is that I have got a plate in front of me.
Yes.
There is a bottom bun, a burger, and a top bun.
Yep.
That's what we've got, right?
Perfect.
Okay.
Mhm.
I am making my biggest statement with my number 5 pick. I think moving it higher could have caused potential issues just for me in my life. So what I want to tell you is that my number 5 burger topping is barbecue sauce. We can have a whole conversation about condiments as our lists go on, but for me, I love, there's some more that's going to come together here. You're going to be able to build my ideal burger, not necessarily even what I'm doing here, but I love barbecue sauce in all forms. Obviously, there is like using it in the holy way that God intended, as Kansas City has mastered.
Right.
There is pairing it with things like, a little extra sauce on a delicious Z-Man of some. I mean, come on. I'm always good with a bucket of barbecue sauce, even when it comes to sandwiches, burgers, dipping in those fries, anything like that for me. Barbecue is the way to go, and it's my number 5 topping. And you're gonna find out where it ranks amongst condiments for me very soon.
Very strong. I forgot the condiments are toppings, so that's really good for me as I looked down my list. But I started rethinking my list. Listen, I don't know if I'd change anything else for a condiment, to be honest with you, because at number 5, I have lettuce, a nice leaf of lettuce. And because I like the change in texture, if you just get like sauce and like burger on a burger, it's just like all the same texture. I like the change in texture. I thought about tomato with this because it does add a little bit of flavor with it. Another change in texture. I think I like the lettuce better. The lettuce adds a little bit more of some roughage to your bite, adds a little bit of a snap. I do enjoy that. It's like a chips on a deli meat sandwich, Always like that good change of pace there. So that's why I got lettuce at number 5.
I think it's a good pick, and I'll say with number 4, this is one that's kind of a little bit of a versatile option. This is running back, wide receiver, playmaker, the Dexter McCluster of my power rankings. Offensive weapon, onions. You've got to have them in almost every iconic burger. There is an onion to be found. Here's what I'm saying. You can chop them up and just throw them on there. Your old school McDonald's burgers. I think White Castle was just meat and onions, right? Yeah, that might not be true. If that's not true, you could roast Tucker.
I think so.
But you can have low effort, some chopped onions, a couple little just thin slices of rings of raw onion. That's good. Both of those are good. You grill those babies, you caramelize those onions, or next level, and pairing very well with my barbecue sauce, admittedly. An onion ring is adding everything your burger needs. I almost just said straight up onion rings at 4, but I really will extend it to like a blackened quick onion, the caramelized, the raw, the chopped, the rings. I think no matter what, an onion's got to be on that list. Number 4 for me.
Funny you mentioned that because at number 4, I have caramelized onions is what my number 4 is. So I'm right there with you. I do like the caramelized, like the little extra flavor. Sometimes, though, you can get like a burger that has like the raw red onion on it, and it's just like a bit much. Yeah, I think you've got to go with a white onion. I think a white onion is what you need, not as strong. But caramelized onions, I like them caramelized, like to bring that flavor out a little bit. But we're right on the same page with number 4. So your number 3, Josh, what do you got?
Number 3 for me, I know is a controversial one. I know that this is a little bit of an audience splitter, maybe some off the field concerns, but I will live and die for pickles. One of the most iconic toppings in all of sandwiches, certainly belongs very, very high on the burger list. I think even your lesser pickles are still generally pretty good, but a great pickle is there's nothing quite like it. So I proudly and firmly leave pickles at number 3.
I would just like some clarification. Are you saying like all forms of pickle, spears, relish, maybe?
I specifically didn't go relish. I think you lose the pop of the texture. I love a pickle spear, but no, it's a good correction. A flat pickle of some sort, and even then I'm being a little bit vague because you get your fast food pickles, your
chips,
general the round chips. My favorite pickle, like in the fridge at all times, is those long slices of Clausen pickles in the jar.
Yep,
those are my number 1 overall pickle pick, I think. But that's a whole other ranking.
That is a whole other ranking. You have to stay tuned. You have to subscribe for that one. That might be an exclusive one. Number 3 for me. I think this one's pretty controversial too. I've got egg.
I love this.
And I do, when I like an egg on a burger, I like it to be a little over easy. I like the yolk to kind of add a little bit of of the moisture to the burger. Now your burger should already be nice and well cooked where it's juicy enough, but adding that yolk to it is just another a chef's kiss. Hopefully that was a good audio gag for a visual medium, but
it was. I could hear it.
Oh, good, perfect. But I've got an egg, even if it's a hard egg too. I enjoy just like, again, a lot of mine are texture based. I'm now noticing to give a mix of different textures to the burger. I've got egg at number 3. Now we're getting into the top 2, Josh. These are your top dogs. What's your number 2?
I will say that I would be a little surprised if we don't have the same 1 and 2. That's how bold I'm willing to go right now. Number 2 for me, bacon.
Okay.
It's hard to beat bacon on a burger. Again, you get a little extra texture. I'm going crispy with it. Do not be putting some fatty, stretchy bacon on my... If I have to bite and like tear, the whole strip comes out, that's not a good look for anybody. And the texture is important. So I want to get a snap when I bite in, but I've got bacon at number 2. I think it has a case for number 1, to be honest, but I think 2 is where it truly belongs.
Yeah, number 2, I've got cheese. If you're gonna have a burger, you're gonna want cheese on it. I'm sorry if it's American. Honestly, Josh, I had burgers the other night, and like we have like the deli sliced cheese, like of the Colby Jack, your mild cheddar, because we're like that. We like that on our deli meat sandwiches. But we went to the store to get that American craft cheese to put on the burgers because it just doesn't quite hit the same as that plastic piece of cheese that you lay down on there. And it's just something American about it. That plastic cheese. So I've got cheese on a burger. I feel like you've got to have cheese. If somebody says cheese is $3 extra, I say, go ahead, add it on there. I'm getting cheese on it.
It's not $3 extra because a cheeseburger is what I'm buying. So that's added to the price. That's not a problem because my number 1 is cheese. Yeah, I was kind of thinking, again, going back to my mind palace where I have a plate, a bun, and a burger, and a top bun. I'm building backwards. If I have bacon, I'm excited, but I need a slice of cheese melting, of course, before I'm even accepting this as a useful food item. I'm sure I've had burgers without cheese that have been okay, but to really be the complete meal, that's what it takes.
And my number 1 is bacon. Everything you said, I personally am more of like a chewy bacon guy. I like my bacon a little bit chewier, but like when it comes to a burger, you're right. That texture, that change of texture there is the perfect way to do it. So Josh, I appreciate you hopping on, talking some burger toppings, talking some quarterbacks, some quarterbacks that the Chiefs will face in 2023. Very exciting. Super excited to have power rankings back.
I think looking at my number 3s here, Justin Herbert and pickles really have a similar kind of thing going on. I don't know if it works anywhere else, but Josh Allen can be bacon. That works for my list too.
Joe Burrow cheese?
Yeah, I know. I'm not sure. I think it falls apart there a little bit. I think you're right. But I think Justin Herbert divides people much like pickles do, and I'm a fan of both. So thanks for having me. Let's do it again soon.
Let's do it. That's going to be it for today's episode of KCS and Update. Make sure to like and subscribe. Go follow Josh on Twitter at JB Brisco. Follow myself on Twitter at Tucker D. Franklin for updates for the show. Also follow us on social at KC Sports Network. I'll be back next week with another show. So until then, I'll talk to you later.
Thanks for watching this production of KC Sports Network, the fastest growing sports media network in Kansas City. Check out these videos that feature our team of more than 15 former players, insiders, and analysts bringing you the best Chiefs coverage you can find. Entertain, educate, inform. KC Sports Network.